Good morning. Welcome to the online Bible study here at Peoples. I'm so thankful that you have joined us again today. We missed you last week. We were off last week as our son Danny went to the UK, and thank you for praying for that. We are picking back up in our book. There's a fly in my tea. And just to recap a little bit, last 2 weeks ago when we did this, it kept going in and out. So I want to recap a little bit just in case some people missed the introduction of the lesson. But we all know in life you can have something really good going on, and then, as the illustration is, a wonderful glass of iced sweet tea and a fly lands in it. Okay, well, how many times does that happen in our lives? Like, things are going really well, and I don't know about you, but as a woman, I think, oh yeah, I got this, and I'm checking my list off, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I got up like I was supposed to, all those things, and I've got my life under control. And then here comes something. And it's like that fly landed in your tea. And the next thing you know, your attitude is not what it needs to be. I told somebody yesterday, it's like the devil gets a hold of me on Wednesdays especially. It's like he knows church is coming Wednesday night, and he knows I'm going to be over it by the time I get to that point, and every little thing. It's like little flies landing in the tea all day long. And this study is about the life of Peter. And I love the life of Peter because he's just like we are. He messed up. He had an attitude about stuff sometimes, but the Lord used him in a great way. And it's encouraging to me to remember, yeah, there's going to be days where it's like that. The fly lands in your tea, you have an attitude, and you have to pull yourself back together and say, okay, Lord, I've got to get this fixed. The point is we don't waller around in it. You're going to have an attitude about stuff. Things are going to go wrong. There's going to be days where you're just over all of it. It's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that I stay that way. Have you ever been around somebody who stays that way? And you're like, seriously? Like, come on, get yourself together and let's move past this. And sometimes it's a season of it where you find yourself stuck there for a little while. But the point is that we are trying to seek the Lord to get out of that. I'm thankful that the Lord doesn't expect me to be perfect. And I think that's where we as women fail in our thinking of things is, well, I'm not doing that exactly like I'm supposed to. I say this often, social media has made that worse because it's constantly saying, and it's a joke, and I'm thankful for these wives who have the time to make the bread and get the chicken eggs and wear the little cute aprons. And I'm glad if that's what the Lord has given them, but I don't want to feel the pressure myself that I have to do everything else I'm doing and live up to that. I can't do all that. I'm glad that they're able to do that, but that doesn't mean that I have to. I have to do what the Lord wants for me in my life. And so I don't want to get to the point to where I'm trying to compare myself that I'm not fitting this little picture perfect mold of what everybody else expects of me. I told my husband last night, if I'm pleasing the Lord and I am being the wife and the mother that I'm supposed to be, then I've got to quit worrying about what everybody else expects of me. Because that will take care of itself, and if they don't understand that, then that's between them and the Lord, and I've got to learn to let that go, but it bothers me. And so we all have that, though. Every person in this room has some kind of pressure from somewhere that you feel this pressure of, I've got to meet this certain expectation. No, you don't. You have to meet the expectation of what the Lord wants from you. What does He want of your life? And I love this study because it gets down to the nitty-gritty of that. No matter what season of life you're in. And we have to constantly be working at it. We talked about at the beginning of this lesson about our salvation testimony. And I encouraged you 2 weeks ago, tell your family your salvation testimony. Tell your husband, tell your grandkids, tell your friends. They should know your salvation testimony. If you have a spouse, they should know that from you. Y'all should talk about it a lot because it encourages you to remember those days of when you were saved. And so I encouraged you to do that. But then she talked about not just knowing your salvation testimony, but the fact that that is a one-time decision in our lives. But living for the Lord and being a disciple of Christ, that's not a one-time thing. And here's where we fall into the trap. I told the Lord I'd serve him. Why is this all going wrong? No, it's not there probably should be a time where you tell the Lord and it's a decision. I'm going to live for the Lord. I'm giving up these things for the Lord. I'm telling the Lord this is it. But it's every day. Teenagers struggle with that. Well, I surrendered to the Lord at Youth Congress, and why is all this going wrong? Well, what are you doing today, though? Like, you did make that decision, but what are you doing today? And no matter what season of life you're in, you have to reevaluate yourself. I mean, we were talking about different seasons of life that some of us are in. Let's just be honest. It affects you. And you have to sit down and say, okay, Lord, I need you to help me realize what I'm doing wrong in this season of life, and let's fix this. Because it wasn't a problem in another season of life, but it is now. And so I need you to help me figure out how to fix this, how to control this particular thing in my life. And so we got to the point to where she talks about we're constantly working on that. It has to be a daily fellowship with the Lord. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that don't read their Bible every day. Or it's just flippant. I'm checking it off my list to say that I did it. And I've been through phases of life like that where I just did it because I needed to be able to check the little thing on the YouVersion app to say that I did it, because then I would lose my streak of all the days that I'm supposed to be doing it. Okay, that's not the reason I should be doing it. It should be because I want a personal walk with the Lord. I should have a prayer list where I am putting those things down, and then when the Lord answers them, I write it down that he answers them. It is work. It is not easy. It is not just, oh, well, this will happen if it happens. No, it is work. Being a Christian is work. Being married is work. Being a mother is work. It's all work. And it has to be that you're willing to put in the time and effort. If I'm not willing to put in the time and effort for the Lord and my relationship with him, then why should I expect him to do anything in my life? Here's what we do, though. Give it to me. I'm at church. Come on, please. But what have I done to prepare before I even go to church? What have I told the Lord? Okay, Lord, I need you to speak to me. I have an open mind, open heart, and there's going to be some things that the Lord is going to step all over our toes, and we can't fight back about those things. We have to be willing to take those things and say, okay, Lord, you kind of got me a little on that one, and I'm not sure about all of it, but I want you to work in me. So help me understand what I need to change. So on page 5 in your book, she starts talking about being a disciple of Christ. And this is about Peter. It's a personal relationship with Christ, becoming a disciple. Being a disciple is a learner and a follower. To be a disciple of Christ is to be a learner of him or a follower of him. But how many times in my life do I do it the way I want to do it? Y'all ever, let's take this for instance, folding towels in your house. You have a certain way you want it done. And your husband decides to help, or a child decides to help. And I remember the day that Danny and Samuel first helped, like we sat down with piles of laundry and they were helping. And I was like, why are you doing that like that? And then it hit me, it doesn't matter. But we as women are like that. We want things to be a certain way, and we want to accomplish it in our own way. Well, living the Christian life can't be like that. I have to be willing to follow what Christ wants of me. There are certain things in my life that I want them to turn out a certain way, and the older I get, the more I learn, I just need to stop all that. I mean, let's just be honest. When your kids are growing up, you think, oh, I want them all right here. We'll have one big happy family. Well, that is not happening for me right now. But that's okay. And I had to let go of that. Otherwise, I could sit around and be a miserable person crying all day long. But there's so many things in our lives like that we want it a certain way and we're not willing to veer from it. But that's not being a disciple of Christ. We have to let the Lord lead in our life. Our goal in being Christ's disciples should be to become more like him. Luke 6:40 says, the disciple is not above his master, but everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. I should want to be like Christ. That should be my goal. I got a lot to work on. Like so much. Because there are so many things that I'm like, oh, the Lord would not be happy with what I'm thinking about that right now. But I should be desiring to be a disciple of him. Let's turn to Matthew chapter 4. Matthew chapter 4. This is when we see Peter, Jesus is calling him and his brother Andrew. They were fishermen. That was their career. That's what they did. There was nothing wrong with being a fisherman. So in Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 through 20, it says, "And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and followed him." Y'all notice anything? They didn't ask 10 questions. He didn't say, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And Peter go, "Well, can we talk about this a little bit? Like, how's this all going to work? What's going to happen? Where are we going?" I would have done that. I would be like, "I need to know your plan. Like, what's happening here?" We've joked because Danny's spending some time with us, and that's his phrase. "What's the plan? What are we doing? What's the plan? What are we doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know, cooking supper?" Like, I would have been that way though. If the Lord had walked up to me and said, "Follow me, I will make you fishers of men," we would have to have a whole conversation. They didn't do that though. They said, and they straightway left their nets and followed him. They just did it. That was their whole career. And I'm thinking to myself, if the Lord walked up to me and said, "Follow me," and it meant I had to walk away from everything I'd ever known, would I have just done that like they did? That took a lot of faith for them to just step away and go. And it's a huge lesson to learn in life. How many things in our lives does the Lord ask us, step away from that? And it's not anything bad, but he wants us to step away from it so that we can follow him better. I was talking to somebody just in the last couple of weeks, and they were trying to make a decision about something, and it wasn't a bad thing they were going to do, but it was, if I do this thing, then I can't be involved in this particular thing that I really kind of feel like the Lord wants me to do. And so they made the decision to step away from that thing. It doesn't mean that we're stepping away always. I mean, there are sinful things in our lives we need to step away from. But sometimes there's things in our lives that are not sinful things, but we need to step away from them because that's what the Lord's asking us to do. And that is hard sometimes because we like to be in our comfortable little places and we don't want any change and we don't like ruffling the feathers and we're happy with our cozy little routine because that's how we are as women. But that doesn't make it right. And that's hard sometimes. They had no hesitation. They dropped the nets and they went. Did Peter know what he was getting himself into? I'm not so sure he did. He probably had no idea what was coming. Has there ever been something in your life that you told the Lord, "Okay, I'll do this," and you had no idea what was coming down the road? And then there were some things that were hard, but in other ways you were blown away by what the Lord did through that particular thing that you followed him in. Usually he blows our minds and he blesses in ways that you think, "I cannot even believe this is happening and it's going so well and the Lord is blessing so much in this area." It says that she talks about the fact that Peter was married because there's a verse that talks about that he had a mother-in-law. And he probably had reasons in all of it. When Jesus walked up to him and said, "Follow me," there were probably some reasons he could have said, "Well, no, but I have to take care of this and I have to do this and I can't walk away from that because of this particular thing." He probably had a lot of reasons for that. We all have that. Throughout Scripture, Peter is a little impulsive and he's a little outspoken. And it's like I said earlier, Peter is a lot like us. I mean, you get up any one of us in the right situation and we're going to spout off. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, you can take the calmest person in the world, but the right situation and the right attitude, and oh boy, for everybody around, because it just comes out. Well, Peter was that way. Now let's turn to Luke chapter 14. Luke 14, we're going to go through verses 25 through 33. These are the steps to becoming a disciple of Christ. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, there's some stuff in here that is going to be, ouch. I was studying and thinking, oh goodness. But I'm thankful. I told somebody just yesterday, if you feel that in church where you're like, oh, really, Lord? That's really not that big of a deal. But you feel that, be thankful you feel that. There are so many people who sit in churches that feel nothing anymore because they have constantly pushed the Lord away. So even when it's not comfortable, be thankful that you feel that. That's the Holy Spirit inside of you. And I'm thankful that I feel that. I don't want to get to the point that I just sit in church and I never feel anything. I want it to be where there are times that I am thanking the Lord, times that I'm telling the Lord, oh, I got to work on that. And then times where I'm kind of arguing with the Lord of, that's not bad. Like, what? No. And then I'm like, okay. You ever do that with yourself? It happens all the time, and I'm thankful for that feeling. And so let's talk through some of this. Luke chapter 14, verses 25 through 33. My Bible, it's titled The Cost of Discipleship. That alone is convicting. It's going to cost you something to follow Christ. It says in verse 25, and there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and count the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest happily, after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. And so that's talking about when somebody builds something, they have to think through the cost of what it's going to take, the process it's going to take, all of that. So he's saying you have to count the cost of what it's going to cost to follow me, just like somebody building a building, all those sort of things. And then it talks about a king going to war. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that come against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. So he's just giving examples of this guy's going to build something and he has to think through all of it. Is it really worth it? Is it going to work? All of that. The king going to war, he doesn't just send people. It's a whole thinking through all of it. Well, he's comparing that to following Christ. We have to think through what it's going to cost us to follow Christ. And to be a true disciple, you have to be willing to take that step for it to cost you something. Now, one thing is, the first step is a supreme love for God. Verse 26 says, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. When you first read that, you think, I gotta hate my mama and my daddy and my brother and my sister in order to follow Christ. That's not what that means. On the surface, that's what it seems like. That's not what he's saying. The word hate there is not meaning a hostility or a malicious behavior towards somebody. It means that you're choosing something greater over that relationship with them. And that's a whole different way of looking at it. I would never hate my mom and my dad and my brother and all those sorts of things. But am I willing to love the Lord enough that I would choose him over that relationship with them? Some of you've been through situations with family where you love them, you would do anything for them, but you've had to choose the Lord over sacrificing for that relationship because it sucks the life out of you or it brings you down spiritually, all those sorts of things. He's asking us to have first place in our lives. That's what the Lord wants. Am I willing to put him first in everything? Above all those other family relationships, am I willing for the Lord to be first? The second one is death to self. Verse 27 says, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. We have to deny our flesh every single day. We have to choose to not let it have power over us. When the fly lands in the tea, we have to learn not to explode. Have you ever had something like that actually happen at the table or something spilled And it went from 0 to 100 in explosive behavior. Like your child spilled something or your husband spilled something, it gets all over you or whatever, and you went from nice to not nice in a matter of 10 seconds. And then later you think, man, I overreacted to that. But we do that a lot about things. When if we would just, okay, Lord, I'm really upset about this right now, but I need you to help me respond the right way or not respond at all. Sometimes just being quiet is better than responding at all. And that is hard. I will say this, the longer I'm married, the more I'm learning there are certain things that's not worth saying. Like I can throw the jab in there if I want to. And probably when I was younger, I did it so much more because I would be frustrated, I'd be tired, all these things. And then I learned like that is not helping the situation at all. Like me saying that did not improve this whole situation we're dealing with. It just hurt him. And now we're mad at each other because of what I just said. And now we can't even deal with the situation that needs to be dealt with because I just did that. But how many times do we react that way about lots of things in life? Whether it's church relationships, friendships, things that just happen throughout the day, and the fly lands in the tea, and then, ugh. And then you go back and think, man, I wish I had done that. And you can't take it back. You ever started saying something and you wish you could just pull the words back in as you're saying it? And you're like, oh my goodness. Happens so many times. And I pray and ask the Lord every day, Lord, help me to learn to keep it in. Just be quiet and help you to help my heart with the whole thing. And then maybe I don't say anything at all in the end. I had somebody one time say, why didn't you say something to me about it? I said, I usually try to give myself a couple of days to realize, does that really matter or not? If it still matters, then maybe I'll come talk to you about it. But if it doesn't really matter at that point, then why do the damage? But we're the worst about doing that. It just all comes out everywhere. And we've done all the damage, and then we have to try to pick up the pieces. But once you do the damage so many times, it's hard to pick the pieces back up. And so we have to die to our flesh and not be that way. Taking up our cross causes us to examine our priorities in life and commit to following the Lord with your whole heart. Every lady in here, the Lord has given you a purpose for your life, no matter what season you're in, whether you're a new wife, whether you're a young mama, whether you're a widow, whether you're an older wife and your kids are grown now. There is something the Lord wants for you in your life. And you have to commit to keeping the priorities right no matter what season of life you're in. And I think probably, I don't know if y'all struggle with this. I go through these phases where I'm like, nobody does anything for me. I'm doing all this for everybody else. I'm tired. You ever feel that? And then the Lord's like, seriously, come on, get it together. Why are you doing what you're doing? You're not doing it for people to do things for you. What is your purpose? You're supposed to be following me. You're supposed to have given up the flesh of all of that so that you can follow me and die to yourself every single day. It's a constant battle. It's every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Yesterday, my husband was like, what is wrong with you? And I didn't feel well yesterday, but that wasn't all that was wrong with me. Like, it was just one of those days. And every little thing got on my nerves. And I had finally told the Lord about mid-afternoon, okay, Lord, you got to help this or I'm going to sit in church tonight and I'm not going to get a single thing out of it because I am so worked up about things that don't even matter. That is dying to your flesh, saying, okay, I realize I got a problem right now and I got to put it to the side and do what I know I need to do. The cost of discipleship is letting go of anything, family, interests, and friends that stand in the way of my relationship with Christ. That is hard. And as a girl and a lady, sometimes it's friends. And we all like having them. We all like having a big group of them. But sometimes it's not best for it to be that way. And you find there are certain friends that pull you down. Or they're the ones that are constantly negative or constantly critical. And you find yourself, if you hang around it long enough, you're going to be exactly the same way. And so I pray for myself, Lord, help me to realize that when that's happening and help me to step away. I can still be kind, I can still be nice, but that doesn't mean they have to be the close ones. I have to be willing to give that up. Interests that I have about things. Sometimes they're not bad things, but they get in the way of my priority of what the Lord wants for my life. The Bible calls them weights. In Hebrews 12:1, it says, and lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us. Okay, weights are not bad things. Weights are just things that get in the way of what I'm supposed to be doing. It's burdens, it's distractions, it's habits, it's good things that are not helpful. Weights are not sin, but they're something that keep my relationship with Christ from being effective. It can be an unhealthy relationship. It can be overcommitting yourself to things. It can be doubt. It can be fear. It can be pride. And then sometimes it's just time-wasting distractions. Social media, TV shows, and you sit there for 3 hours and you think, what did I just do with my time? And I think to myself, I could have just spent that 3 hours focusing on more of what the Lord wants for me or thinking about this for my family, and I just wasted 3 hours of it watching that movie or scrolling social media. It's time wasters. That keeps me from following the Lord. That's a weight I have to say, okay, Lord, I realize what they are. Let me put it aside and be done with it. Peter left his fishing nets and following Jesus, and guess what he didn't do? He didn't run home and say, wife, I need to talk to you. Jesus just asked me to do this. You think I should do it? He didn't do that at all. And I'm not saying that if the Lord wants something from you, you shouldn't discuss it with your spouse or somebody in your family that you feel like. But he was so willing to follow the Lord that he didn't run home and say, he's asking me to do this. I think I'm going to do it. I just want you to know. Like, he didn't do any of that. He didn't run home to check with her to see if it was going to be okay. His love for the Lord was paramount in his life. It was the most important thing to him. He dropped everything and followed Jesus, and that's the first step in becoming a disciple of Jesus. And I have to be honest with y'all. To be at this point in my life, there's so much I still need to work on about following the Lord. Putting things aside that don't matter and controlling the attitudes when things go wrong. And I find myself repeating the same process over and over and over again. And I am learning to tell the Lord, Lord, I don't want to keep repeating it. Help me to get control of this so I can work on the next thing that you want me to work on in my life. Jesus should have ultimate priority. Nothing or no one should stand before him. And we have to be willing to part with anything that is keeping me from what he wants for my life. That's tough. That's a big step. But if we want to follow the Lord like we're supposed to and be a true disciple of the Lord, we've got to evaluate some things in our lives. Now, in the book, I told you about this 2 weeks ago. She has this whole section after each chapter on reflection. That's between you and the book, you and the Lord, not for anybody else to see. And it's for you to sit down and think about what your relationship is with the Lord. Are you best friends with the Lord? You're doing everything you know you need to do with the Lord, seeking him. I don't know. The next one is good friends. I don't know that I would ever check best friends because there's so much I always need to work on. I want it to be like that, but there's so much I need to work on each and every day of my life. The next one is good friends. I'm in his word, spending time with him. I consult him sometimes about my decisions. The next one is friends. I'm in the word, spending time in prayer more than the people I'm comparing myself to. And I seek him in times of trouble and when things aren't going great. Ugh. But we all go through phases of that. And then acquaintances is I'm saved, but I really don't have consistent fellowship with the Lord. And it saddens me today in America, so many Christians are doing just that. They're saved, they come to church, and that's all there is to it. It can be so much better than that. Life can be so much more rewarding spiritually than just doing that. That is just miserable to spend your life. I know I'm saved. We got to go to church Sunday and Wednesday. No. It should be where you're so excited to get to church and ask the Lord, okay, Lord, what are you going to teach me today? And I'm willing for you to step on the toes so I can get it fixed. Whatever that is. You should ask the Lord to speak to you about things, even if it's not something the preacher preaches about. Or if there's something I need fixed, speak to me about that, even if he doesn't even talk about it. Be open to that. And we should be that way every single day as we read God's word. Please, Lord, just fix it. Please just constantly work in my heart and in my life and help me not to miss it. And help me not to put anything or anyone in front of you. And that is tough because as a woman, you have that nurturing spirit to take care of everybody else and everything else. And sometimes you find yourself putting other people and other things in front of your relationship with the Lord. We all have to learn that lesson, and it's a constant work in progress to keep it that way. And I want to encourage you to do that. If you have the book, I would encourage you to go through all these questions and really evaluate some things. Now, next week's lesson is don't panic. That's been Dr. Satterfield's phrase to all the teachers this year because we have a much larger number in the school than what we have had. And so the first week, it was every text ended with don't panic in all caps. So this one is just talking about having the peace of God in your life no matter what you're going through. And so I'm excited to study that one. So we will see y'all next week. And I want to, if you're in the area and would like to be part of our ladies conference, it is next Friday and Saturday, September 5th and 6th. Ms. Sharon Rabin will be here speaking. And you can go to our church website, or there's some posts here on Facebook where you can register for that, but we would love to have you. I hope y'all have a great week. Bye-bye.